Just before we start the show, I want to tell you about RecFest USA, an extraordinary event happening in Nashville on the 13th and 14th of September. Part festival, part conference, RecFest is a unique experience, long established in the UK. I've attended most of them, and I highly recommend you experience the incredible combination of content, networking, and celebration of all that's good in talent acquisition. RecFest is coming to America, and I've got a mega discount code for you. Go to recfest.com/USA and use the code RF50 to get 50% off your tickets. That's recfest.com/USA and the discount code is RF50.
There's been more of scientific discovery, more of technical advancement and material progress in your lifetime and mine than in all the ages of history.
Hi there, this is Matt Alder. Welcome to the June Roundup episode of the Recruiting Future podcast. If you've not listened to Roundup before, it's a short review of the episodes that I've published in the last month to make sure you don't miss out on the valuable insights my guests are sharing. One of the things I missed most during the pandemic were the face-to-face events, both large and small, that have always been such a feature of our industry. While a lot can be achieved online, for me, face-to-face is always the winner when it comes down to hearing new ideas and being involved in the kind of spontaneous conversation that can open your eyes to whole new ways of thinking. The big events like HR Tech, Unleash and RecFest, more about that later, have been back for a while now. But what's been fantastic about the last few weeks is the number of smaller, more focused events that are now popping up everywhere. In June, I had the pleasure of doing a fireside chat on the future of talent acquisition for the Lloyd's talent team, as well as being one of the keynotes at Manpower's annual conference, where I was talking about optimizing hybrid workforces. It was great to be part of the discussions, and it's very clear that this is an incredibly dynamic time of change and innovation. Although I love face-to-face, online is still important. And it was great to be part of an on-demand webinar for Userlane this month, where we discussed the role of software in employee engagement. I'll share all the links to recordings as they become available. So, later this week, RecFest UK returns to Nebworth Park near London, with over 5,000 attendees. Huge congratulations to the RecFest team for what looks to be the biggest and best event yet. If you're going, please come and say hello if you see me. I'll be recording some interviews with some of the speakers, as well as participating in a fireside chat on the future role of recruiters, and that's at 4:15 on the Hiring Without Boundaries stage. So, on to June's podcasts. And it was a real mix of topics, but the three key themes of disruption, innovation and change were ever present in each conversation. The employee-employer relationship is changing. Employee engagement is at an all-time low, and countless research studies tell us that a significant proportion of the workforce is considering quitting their job. At the same time, despite the economic backdrop, many companies are struggling to get the talent they need due to significant skill shortages in some areas. So, how can employers differentiate themselves and secure and retain the talent they need? A positive work culture has never been more critical, and is a strong differentiator for employers focusing on building one. My guest on episode 527 was Laurie Knowles, Chief Human Resources Officer at Memorial Hermann Health System. Memorial Hermann has had some spectacular hiring and retention outcomes in a highly challenging talent market by focusing on their culture. In our discussion, Laurie talks us through the 5 levers they use to drive culture and the results they're getting. It's very encouraging that an increasing number of employers are committing to play their part in improving social mobility. It's becoming clear, though, that transactional and short-term attempts at talent engagement do not yield the results needed for employers or the communities they seek to engage. So, what can employers learn from non-profits that achieve positive outcomes that do improve social mobility? On episode 528, I spoke to Irene Shi, CEO of Minds Matter Bay Area. This education nonprofit connects driven and determined students from low-income families with the people, preparation and possibilities to succeed in college. Mind Matters Bay Area has been incredibly successful with its mission, and Irene had some critical learnings to share that employers focusing on social mobility will find extremely valuable. The tech sector has been going through an unprecedented period of layoffs in the last few months. However, the demand for digital skills in the wider market will continue for years. So, what strategies are employers putting in place to ensure they have the skills they need for their businesses in the future? My guest on episode 529 was Lex Pedersen, VP of EMEA at O'Reilly Media. O'Reilly has been helping businesses develop digital skills for over 40 years. And Lex has insights and advice for employers looking to gain a competitive advantage through skills acquisition and development. We explored the factors causing digital skill shortages, the way the most successful companies of the next 10 years will think about talent, and the importance of breaking down silos in HR to enable talent mobility. So, despite unfavourable economic factors, skill shortages are still an issue. However, they're only one element of a brewing talent crisis. Perhaps most worrying for business leaders are these low levels of engagement and retention, as expectations of the employment experience continue to evolve rapidly. So, what can employers do to build workforce resilience and get the competitive talent advantage essential to drive long-term value? My guest on episode 530 was Tammy Browning, President at Kelly OCG. Kelly OCG has recently published a comprehensive piece of research looking at workforce resilience. In our conversation, Tammy shared the findings and talked us through the 3 strategic pillars that are helping employers to build a resilient workforce. Many aspects of recruiting have changed significantly over the last 2 decades, with technology continuing to drive rapid leaps forward in innovation and efficiency. The candidate experience, though, continues to be a conundrum. It hasn't improved or developed at the same pace as other areas of talent acquisition. So why is this? And how can new and compelling business cases be made to drive a better candidate experience? Amy Oviedo, founder and CEO of Recruiting Experiences, was my guest on episode 531. Recruiting Experiences provide fractional recruiting support to employers and training for talent acquisition professionals. Amy is a passionate advocate for the candidate experience and the importance of kindness in the recruiting process. In our conversation, we geeked out a bit about recruiting in the 90s and discussed why candidate experience is still a major issue, despite all the advances in technology since then. We also got into the ideal mix between people and technology and the skills talent acquisition professionals will need in the future. Employers have never had so much data to inform, innovate, and optimize their talent strategies. However, understanding and extracting value from this data is something many organizations are still struggling with. So, how should employers be thinking about data, implementing data-driven talent strategies, and planning for a future of data-based decision-making? Grant Telfer, Business Development Director at TextKernel, spoke with me on episode 531. TextKernel has long specialised in bringing machine learning, AI, and data-driven intelligence to talent acquisition. And we discussed the current state of talent markets, the most useful datasets available to employers, how to extract value from them, and the dangers of not using data to its full potential. Despite current market conditions, engaging with top talent is still very hard. It's even harder if you're hiring for an employer with very little profile or brand awareness in your target talent markets. So, what strategies are employers using to engage with top talent? And what lessons can large enterprises learn from small and agile startups when it comes to storytelling and the effective use of tech stacks? My guest on episode 533 was George Morris, Head of Talent Acquisition at Lindus Health. George has vast experience in building hiring strategies for high-growth startups and has practical advice to share on how TA leaders should respond to the disruption we're seeing in the market. We talked about consistency of storytelling, candidate experience as a point of difference, and how TA should prepare itself for the future. A big thank you to TextKernel for being our sponsor during June. Please go to textkernel.com to find out more about the great work they do. So onwards into July. The Scottish schools are out for the summer, so I'm going to be taking a couple of weeks holiday with the family. The podcast won't stop though. As well as 4 brand new interviews, I'm also going to be replaying some interviews from the archives that I think are particularly relevant to the issues we're seeing at the moment. So don't miss out. If you haven't already, then make sure you're subscribed to the show in Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Finally, make sure you go to www.recruitingfuture.com and subscribe to our monthly newsletter, Recruiting Future Feast. Thanks very much for listening. I'll be back next time, and I hope you'll join me.
This is my show.
Welcome to Don't Retire, Graduate, the podcast that asks you what you want to be when you grow up so you can graduate into retirement with a purpose and a passion, whether you're 25, 85, or any age in between. Gain actionable financial and mindset tips from your favorite authors, podcasters, and influencers to help you reach that exciting next chapter. Listen now and start building your path to financial freedom and reframing what retirement can mean to you. This is your host, Eric Brotman, reminding you, don't retire, graduate.